Hello and welcome to Special Olympics Minnesota's online registration tutorial. In this tutorial, I will go over what it looks like to register your teams for competitions. That includes your athletes, unified partners, and coaches. And so let's jump right in. So when you log into your online registration page, I'm going to use, for the case of this, a test delegation. This is the page that you'll see when you log in. You can see in the top right-hand corner that it'll say you are logged in. The login you receive from the state office, you will receive one per delegation. Where you saw me log in just a minute ago there, you will receive a username, which is your email address, and a password given to you by us. Note that you can change your password. If you do forget, please do reach out to your program manager to have that resolved, as we do try to keep track of those. So that way, if you do have issues, we're there to help. Like I said, you'll get that login, and then you'll get to this page. So for this test delegation today, I'm going to show you how to register for two different events. So that way it'll cover individual sports and then team sports, and just how to register the different types of competitions. So for the purpose of this tutorial, we will have, we'll do the Area 11 track and field competition, which even though it's canceled, I'll still be able to do that for this demonstration, and then Area 11 bocce. When you get to this page, your home page, you'll see we have registered, meaning those are the events you're currently or competitions you're currently registered for. These are all the competitions not currently registered for. Past competitions are any that you've participated in the past, and then you've got your rosters down here. That includes the athletes, unified partners, and coaches. This is a great place to go, even if you just need to check on paperwork how your athletes are doing. If they are in need of updating their medical, you can check on coach certifications here. All this is a great landing spot if you do need to do that, as well as if you want to. I'm going to click on athletes here. You can print, download this as a file, and then print it nice and easily as well if you'd like. So jumping back quickly to that home page, a couple things to note here, that when an athlete is going to show up on your roster, so that is when they have submitted and had their athlete application processed and then added to your team. Note that these rosters here, these athletes, that paperwork as it comes in and is received, it automatically updates to the website. So once we receive that, process it, then it will automatically update here with those new dates. So now that I've clicked on athletes, we do have a couple test athletes here. We've got Elizabeth Doe and John Doe. You'll notice a few icons. So next to Elizabeth Doe, she has this green icon here, and that just means that she is all good to go. She has all of her paperwork in. She can compete at her next competition. It shows their medical form and then their consent form. She has green for both, so she is good to go. If there's nothing here where it says expires for your consent form, that just means the athlete that they turned in a form since they turned 18. So it's not going to ever expire again. So Elizabeth and John are at least 18. They've signed that consent form again. You notice for John Doe, he has this red icon. That means at least one of his pieces of paperwork needs updating because it has expired. In this case, it's his medical form, which expired back in 2019. So let's jump back to coaches. There's one other icon coaches is all either red or green. So we're going to go to unified partners. And Jack Doe, you'll notice, has a yellow icon. Yellow icon just means that they have some form of their paperwork that will be expiring within the next 6 months. So in this case, his background check is going to expire in June of 2020. So therefore, his background check shows up as yellow. He can still compete in any competitions prior to that. It's just kind of giving you that warning that it may expire. So under unified partners and coaches, you'll see we've got a ton of level 1 certifications here. We have the general session consent form, protective behaviors, and concussion certification. All of that files under the level 1 coach certification that you complete when you sign up to be a unified partner or a coach. You can see that Jack's volunteer application is on file. It's good to go. And then that background check, again, completed, but expires within 3 years, so he will need to update that soon. Mary, Jean, and Sam here all have at least something that is not on file or needs updating, and therefore would not be eligible for competition. If you are registered as a unified partner or a coach, note that level 2 trainings will only show up under coach. So Gene Test was listed as a unified partner, but also a coach. So that level 2 training for bowling only shows up on the coach page. So just something to keep track of, to note there as well. So moving on to, now that we've gone over some of the icons there, we're going to show what it looks like to register for an event. So before we jump into track and field, a few things to note on this homepage again, when the registration open date is, and then more importantly though, is that date of the competition. So if you need to know again what the date is, and then the registration deadline. So like I said, it's canceled, but I made the registration deadline be on 4/7. So it gives you kind of a countdown of when that is going to expire. So you need to register for these events prior to that registration deadline. Once that registration deadline passes, you cannot make changes. You would have to instead then contact your program manager for them to make any changes, whether it's adding in qualifying scores or if you had to, make a scratch or something like that. Just note that you won't be able to make those changes after that registration deadline. If you do accidentally click on a different event, so say I accidentally clicked on area 2 and 3 softball, it's going to say I'm registered for it. If you accidentally do that, contact your program manager and we can unregister you for any of those events that you may accidentally have clicked on and accidentally have clicked register. So again, back to that registration deadline. After that deadline passes, you're going to receive a form from your program manager. It's a list of paperwork needs and edits. So we call that our errors and exceptions report. You'll get that and then have roughly a week to get all paperwork completed and processed in by that time, which we call our errors and exceptions deadline. These deadlines are very important because if you don't have all that paperwork in by that errors and exceptions deadline, unfortunately, we do need to scratch any athletes, coaches, or unified partners. So registration deadline is huge because you need to have everybody in the system by that time. So even if they don't have all their paperwork in, please register them for the competition. And you can have that time prior to that errors and exceptions deadline to get their paperwork in. So let's get to a competition. So you click on it and then click register. This will bring you up to the competition page. So in this case, track and field, you'll see here's a spot for coaches, athletes, unified partners, any relay team since we're dealing with track. And then again, you can still see your roster down here, similar to on your home page. All right, so first thing we're gonna go over is you'll see that it says add coach here twice, add athlete, add a unified partner. All that's listed twice because if you have a ton of athletes registered or a ton of coaches or unified partners registered, that list is gonna get quite lengthy. And so then what it'll do is it'll place all of the coaches like in between here. So that way you don't have to scroll all the way up to the top of the page if you want to add a new coach. There will be one at the top and one at the bottom that you can click on. So let's just jump in. We're going to add an athlete. So I clicked add athlete. Here's where all of the athletes will be listed that are part of your delegation. You can search for them if you have a ton. For this case, we only have 2 listed. You can search by their first or last name, and then that will show everybody that is registered to your delegation that would fit that criteria. The page here that pops up, these are all the individuals listed in our database on your overall delegation roster. If you don't see someone on this list, whether it's an athlete or coach or unified partner that you think should be there, make sure you contact your program manager so that way we can look into that and make sure that you have them registered to your delegation. So again, like I went over on that roster page on the home page, here's that icon. Green to the left here means they're overall good to go. Red means they're missing some sort of paperwork. I can click on that and then it'll tell me again those expired pieces of paperwork. For John Doe, he has his medical expired. I can just get out of that. So like I said, you want to register everyone, even if they don't have everything in there. As far as paperwork goes, please still register them prior to that registration deadline. So for track and field, there is assistance needed. That is where you'll click if they do need assistance. All the definitions for all of these different types of assistance, those are outlined in the sport-specific handbooks on the SOMN website. So you find the track and field handbook, the competition handbook, and then that's where it's going to tell you what the definitions are for all these types of assistance needed. So for Elizabeth, I'll just click outside lane. Please, for the sake of just making it a simple process, only click on the assistance needed that's actually needed. It makes our scheduling and divisioning easier if you're only choosing the ones that they truly do need. So I'm going to click save. That just says that she has that outside assist on. And again, if I wanted to add John Doe, I can click add, even though he does not have all of his paperwork in. That's totally fine right now. You'll notice a few icons popped up when I added these athletes. We've got a pencil, subtraction sign, and this X here. The pencil is edit. So this is where if I forgot to click something, say I wanted to do guide runner, I could click that here and save it as well. So if you forgot one of the assistants, that's where you can do that. It's also you'll see when we add an event, the edit button is where you can edit or add in the qualifying score there as well. The subtraction sign means to scratch, and then the X means to delete. Both of those kind of do the same thing as far as what we see in our system. I recommend just doing the scratch, so this subtraction symbol, because maybe the athlete or coach or unified partner down the road says, actually, I can make it that day. And then you don't have to re-enter in all their events and qualifying scores. It'll keep it in there. It'll just scratch them, and then you can go back in and click unscratch. So what we're going to do now is show you how to add an event. I'm just going to do an individual event for Elizabeth here. We'll do the 100-meter run. We'll say she does that in 14 seconds. That's her qualifying score. So I'm going to do save there. Now you'll see she is properly registered for the 100-meter run, and her qualifying score is listed there as well. Here's where I could edit her qualifying score if I forgot. And then also if I just want to scratch one event, then I click the subtraction sign right there. Say she's no longer going to do the 100-meter run, but she wants to do the 100-meter unified relay. You can do that to scratch that event there. And then I'm not going to worry about any individual events for John Doe, but what I do want to do right now before we move on to bocce is create a unified relay team. So I'm going to add in all of my unified partners. I'm going to do Jack Doe, and then we'll keep it in the family and we'll go with Mary Doe. So we've got our 4 competitors, 2 athletes, 2 unified partners, and I need to create a unified relay team. So I go down to teams, I'm going to click new team, and then the team name is going to be, since it's a team sport, typically our teams will call them by a mascot or a color. So we'll just do Test Green. And Test Green is going to be the name of this particular relay team name. So they're going to be team green for this particular relay. We're going to say their overall score is 1 minute and 3 seconds. So that is their qualifying score. So now when I go back to these athletes and unified partners and add in that event and click on test green for their team, then that qualifying score will automatically be there already as well. So I need to find 4x100 meter unified relay. I've got a blue, a green, and a red. I want the green, and then position is where they are in the relay. So we'll say Elizabeth is 1. Now you'll see she is in the 4x100 meter unified relay. Test green, qualifying score is 103 like we saw before, and then relay position 1. And now I need to do that with the other teammates. So I'm going to join test green. John is going to be in position 2. Go down to my unified partners. Now you'll notice unified partners have way less events to choose from. They only have the unified relay as opposed to the athletes where they have so many more events in this particular track and field competition. And the final one with Mary here in position 4. So that's what it looks like to add an individual event and then a relay for competitions like track and field, swimming. The same process where I created this team down here for a team sport such as flag football or basketball. Same thing applies. You'll create that new team, make sure you add the athletes, unified partners to that team. Last thing I'm going to do in track and field is add a coach. I'm going to add Gene Test, click save, and then you'll have all of your coaches listed right here. Please note, here is a coach table. It says I need a level 2 coach. While that is true, just note that this particular table isn't always 100% correct. It kind of pulls from some old criteria. So to make sure that you do have the proper amount of coaches that applies to our coach ratio chart, go to the SOMN homepage and then click coaches. Go to our coach portal. And then under resources, click on policies and fact sheets. And then you'll find the coach certification ratio table. This tells you how many coaches that are level 2, that are level 1, that need to be registered for the competition. So in this case, we had 1 to 4 athletes. So I need to make sure I have 1 level 2 coach registered for that competition. Team sports have a little more specifics as far as roster sizes go and what you need for those coach ratios. So refer to that, a little bit of a better gauge of what we go off of than this. But also just know that when program managers are sending out the errors and exceptions report, they'll be checking this. So they'll let you know if you do need to make sure you have more coaches registered. So to go back and register now for bocce, I'm going to go back a page and click on that test delegation. This brings us back to the home page. And now I'm going to click on bocce for area 11, and I want to register for this competition. Main thing I want to show here on the bocce competition is what it looks like to do singles and then unified doubles. Notice that bocce has a ton of different teams options as far as doubles go. One other thing I forgot to mention on the coach page, I want to see one of these I remember had bowling. I think it was Gene now that I think of it. So Gene had green for bowling, meaning that it's all up to date. Say that the level 1 certification for Gene was all up to date, had background check all up to date, yet bowling was red. It's still going to show up as a red icon here because it's just saying you don't have all of your paperwork complete. But if Jean was going to be the level 2 coach for track and field and she had that track and field level 2 certification up to date, even though it's showing up here as red, just know that she'd still be good to go. In our program, it just shows that, again, it's saying that it's not all up to date, but it could mean that it's a level 2 sport that is not updated. So if you do have questions on that, just reach out to your program manager. So I'll add in a coach again. We'll do Jean again. And then let's do adding in an athlete. We'll do Elizabeth again. And then we're going to do her unified partner. So we'll do Sam test. The difference for adding in a unified doubles team, especially for bocce, is to do last name. So this would be team test / dough. And then when it comes to bocce, I'm not going to actually need to put in their team score, because when I add in their individual scores, so for singles, we'll say Elizabeth, her qualifying score is 500. And then I'm going to add her to that unified doubles team. And then for this one, I did test / dough. And then her qualifying score for that is also 500. So you'll see down below, it automatically updated to 500 points. And then I need to add Sam, unified doubles. His is going to be 450, test / dough. It updates to 950 points. So again, it automatically updates based on those individual qualifying scores. The last thing to talk about, now that I've shown you how to register for team sports, individual sports, and the various competitions or events within those competitions, is for state competitions. All you have to do to advance your athletes, coaches, unified partners, to advance them to the state competition, is the state competition would show up when it opens for registration under the not registered. You'll click on that, and if you remember before, when I click on it, it said register. There'll just be another option right here that says advance, and all you have to do is click on that advance button. It'll copy over everything from your area registration into that state competition for you. And then the final thing to mention about state competitions, when submitting your quota to state, that's all done via a survey using Google Forms. The link for that will be emailed out to you following the area competition. You'll complete that, and then we'll have all your info needed for state competitions. I believe that's all for this online registration tutorial. If you do ever have questions as far as how to register, how to update qualifying scores, anything as far as paperwork goes, again, just reach out to your program manager, and then they will be able to assist you with that. And thank you for watching this video. And again, just let us know if you have any questions.